If I can take you back throughout your career, are there any moments when you just wish that ball could disappear? Was there any one of those where you think, oh, I wish that wasn't there?
Yeah, there's a couple that come to mind. Yeah, that I wish I'd gone over the bar and not in. But things like that happen, and if I had the opportunity, it'd definitely be the Ronaldinho and Naim goal.
Do people still talk about that one, or is that sort of consigned to history now?
No, a lot of Tottenham fans still talk about Naim. And you get the odd person mentions the Ronaldinho, but it's part of what I am. You're saying it's the life of a goalkeeper. You make mistakes and you have great times. Luckily, I've had good times as well.
And of course, those are the ones you remember a lot more, aren't they? They're the ones you look back on and people talk about and come up to the cup finals and the league wins and the big games with England.
Yeah.
Maybe the penalty save against Spain, was that one?
Yeah, the penalty save against Spain, my save against Sheffield United in the semi-final. And like you say, I've got 7 winners' medals, so I didn't do too bad.
Now, of course, Arsenal, they've just won the FA Cup. Fantastic win against the odds, really.
Yeah.
Arsène Wenger's now announced he's staying for another 2 years. Some of the protesters saying, well, they're not going to go away, but perhaps they'll be focused a bit more on what's going on behind the scenes, on the board level, than what's going on with the manager. Do you think that's a better situation than last season?
Yeah, because the demonstrations and the unrest within the fans wasn't good for the team. They're venting their anger on match day, which isn't helping at all. The timing of the announcement for me should have been dealt with a lot earlier. To get that out of the way and then let people move on and get on with stuff. And I think it would have been easier for the players if all that anger wasn't there. But it's what it is. I'm very happy Arsenal signed for another 2 years, and it's moving forward. There is stuff that needs to change. I think we've got to start attracting the top players again. And that might mean moving the wage structure a little bit, and that's the way of attracting the top players. Obviously paying the right fees as well, but we're still like a long way down the line where we still need a few players. It's been like that for a few seasons now, and I think it's time that people realise that that's what needs to be done.
And on top of that, of course, it's a question of keeping the best players. Sanchez and Ozil are the two that possibly could go. They're in the last year of their contracts. It's a difficult situation, isn't it?
It is, and we don't want to go down that road again, because we went down that with Fabregas and Clichy and Nasri. That them sort of great players, they left because they got more money at other clubs. And obviously with Sanchez and Ozil, we don't want to be losing that quality player. That's the type of people that I'm praying that we bring in.
But with the money that Arsenal have in potential, and even without the Champions League next season, do you think they can compete in terms of wages with Chelsea and Manchester United and Manchester City, who've shown already that money appears to be no object?
Well, that's right. We don't know whether we can compete because we've never been told any different. And it's time for the board and the owners to really to put their hands in their pocket and show what they've got, because we're getting left behind a little bit, like you say, with the likes of Chelsea, Man City, Man United. They've got big financial backing, and they're attracting the players, and it's time that we did as well.
Do you think, as well as that, the lacking the Champions League is going to make it harder to attract those very top players you say that the team needs?
I don't think it will, because it's just a one-off. We've been in it for 20 years, and I think players will look at that and think, okay, it might just be one season that I'm not in the Champions League, and hopefully it doesn't bother them too much. I think once you pay a player enough money, I think that's the main attraction. But the Champions League is a negative, but it's not one that's been there for a long time. Like I say, I think it's just a one-off.
And where are the areas you think Arsenal need to strengthen? What are the positions particularly you think they really need to bring in players? I
still think that we need a new centre half, a dominating centre half, a dominating holding midfielder. The Patrick Vieira type, a Matic type, and Yaya Toure. That sort of like big, strong, controlling midfield player. And maybe a striker, but the thing is like I'm talking like of the spine of the team there. and it's not quite right yet.
And of course, the other thing is, it's not enough to stand still, is it? When you look at we're expecting Griezmann perhaps to go to Manchester United. We know City are already going to be spending big. Chelsea are obviously making plans as well. Tottenham, Liverpool as well. Their team's all above Arsenal. They'll all be spending. They'll all be buying players. So you really got to keep spending to keep up, haven't you?
Yeah, it's vitally important that we do that because, like I say, we're getting left behind a little bit, and we've struggled to be in the race for the league in the last few seasons. We've never really been in the race for the Champions League. It's time that we started putting our money where our mouth is and getting some right results off the field as well as on it.
And just going back to Wenger, do you think, in your heart of hearts, he's the right man to take them forward for these next 2 years? And the ideal situation is that the focus goes away from him and more onto what else is happening at the club.
He's definitely the ideal man. He's shown what he can do, and now if he gets that backing, I don't know how much backing has been there before. It's never been told, it's never been said, talked about. And Arsene's the type of guy that he wouldn't drop little hints saying that the money's not there or things like that. And it's time it was there, and like you said, let's see what the board are going to say.
And in terms of the realistic ambitions for next season, do you think Arsenal have got a good chance of getting in the Champions Four as it stands now, or do you think really a lot depends on what will happen in the transfer market with them and other clubs this summer?
They've still got a chance of getting in the Champions League because, as we saw in the cup final, they can play. They can play against big teams. They didn't. People said to me, "Oh, Chelsea didn't turn up." I say, "Well, Arsenal didn't allow them to turn up." So we know the qualities that they've got, and then if they just add a few more players to that, who knows where he can take them next season.
And in terms of Wenger, this is 2 more years. He's now getting to 70, isn't he? He's towards 70. Do you think this could be? We've said it before, but could this be his last sort of period in football, in English football?
I wouldn't be surprised if it is his last time, because, like you say, he's getting older now, and depending on how we go, the stresses of the job, won't be. Hopefully, they're not too stressful, because that will mean that we're successful. But if it doesn't go the right way, then it can be bad for your health as well.
And would you, as an Arsenal legend and a fan's favourite, would you have a message for the fans, even those who are perhaps not completely anti or been raising protests, but generally maybe a little sort of in the middle perhaps on the whole situation? What would you say to them now?
I would say to them, support your team. No matter what's going on with the manager, with the board, with transfer fees or whatever, on match day, support your team. Because trust me, negativity in the ground from the fans does not help whatsoever. Do
you think the cup final, the win, was sort of, despite what's been going on, it's ended a relatively successful season?
It's ended a decent season, because we've got a trophy. Finishing outside the top 4 was a blow, but there's always been promise there, and there still is. It's just, for me, I just think we need to just add a couple of players, 2 or 3 players in key positions that will hopefully take us to the next level.
And just finally, obviously, as a former goalkeeper, what would you say about the situation in terms of Peter Cech? And obviously he's not getting younger, but he's still a top keeper. How important is it to sort of wrap him in cotton wool and make sure he can survive another season?
Yeah, with Peter Cech, you've got to look after him. He's shown at the end of the season that he is still a quality goalkeeper. I don't know the situation with Ospina. I don't know if that was his last game in the cup final or not. But if so, then I would imagine that we'll be in the market for another goalkeeper. But that'll be difficult because Cech's such a force and a presence in that dressing room and on the pitch. He won't be easy to replace. But for me, Petr Cech's a great goalkeeper.
And just to finish off on goalkeepers. England are playing obviously a big game against Scotland and a friendly with France.
Yeah.
Joe Hart's come back from his year. We don't know where he's going to be next season, but he's been in Italy a year. Maybe out of sight, out of mind, you don't know. But Jack Butland has made a really strong case for himself, hasn't he? Do you think it's time to start giving him some games in the first team?
Yeah, you give them games, but for me, Joe's the number 1 by a long way. I know he's been away in Italy, but the quality that Joe had before he went was fantastic. It's only a manager that had a problem with Joe's persona, I suppose. It was nothing to do with talent. You know, so for me, I was really happy that Joe went and was actually playing in a really competitive league. And then when he came back for England, he still showed what he got, you know, which was so satisfying to me, because he took a big blow in the summer, you know, not only with England, but then for your manager to turn around and say that to you, that shows a lot of character, how he's reacted to that.
And do you think if he doesn't go back to City, he doesn't go back to Torino, there'll be top clubs who'll be looking at Joe Hart as a signing?
Yeah, the top clubs will be after him, but it's going to be a chain reaction, you know, because there's all the speculation about David De Gea, you know, whether he goes to Real Madrid or not, and if that happens, you know, there'll be movement. And at the moment, it's hard to see where Joe might end up. But you know, if he came to Arsenal, I'd be quite happy with that. But I don't think that would be the position that Joe's looking for, you know, to be in competition with somebody. I think he wants to go to a club and be their number one.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time, David.
Brilliant.